Good afternoon. I want to invite you to the March 25th, 2019 Salina City Commission meeting. Could we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Davis.
Here?
Commissioner Hay.
Here.
Commissioner Hodges.
Here.
Commissioner Hoppick.
Here.
Commissioner Ryan.
Here.
Okay, we're going to do things a little different this morning. We have some special visitors with us from Stewart Elementary School. This is the 5th grade leadership class, and I think some of those folks there will be up on this stage in several years, although when I spoke to them before, a lot of them want to become veterinarians and pediatricians. They're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to have their sponsor and teacher just introduce them briefly, and they'll introduce themselves and come up front here, and we'll face the flag and do the pledge.
So while they're doing that, I'm Amanda with United Way, and I have been helping my friend and colleague Deanna. For 2 years, she's been doing a 5th grade leadership program at Stewart Elementary School. And this year, we're starting to incorporate some of the principles from the Kansas Leadership Center, which we teach to juniors leadership and leadership Salina. And so this is sort of a little bit of a pilot this year. And so Dr. Davis came and visited us a couple weeks ago, and now we're here to visit you at your workplace. So I think we're going to turn around and salute the flag, and you guys will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then they will introduce themselves. All right, so if you guys want to come through and just introduce yourself, you can just say your first and last name, and if all of y'all want to come line up here, and we'll go like that.
Hello, my name is Tate Palmer. My name's Keegan Halleck.
My name is Cale Hammond.
My name is Kason Shaw.
My name is Wyatt Hendricks.
My name is Eden Coney. My name's Sophie Daly.
My name is Briley Moss.
My name is Zoe O'Connor.
My name is Michaela Fetzenfu.
My name is Jaden Peepo.
Well, I thank you all for coming.
Thank you for having us, and I'm Deanna Carpenter, a principal, and we also have Melissa Mall here as a teacher representative. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing I did not mention prior to our moment of silence is at Salina's mourning, the passing of Glenn Kokonowski, our past sheriff. So please keep words of encouragement and consolation to his family. Truly one of our true spiritual citizens, and we'll always remember him for believing that everyone has a reason and a chance for redemption, and he liked to give people that second chance. So please send messages to his family. We will now move to, well, we have no awards or proclamations. Open now to the Citizens Forum. This is an opportunity for any citizen who would like to make a comment or discuss anything that's not on the agenda. You may come up to the podium.
Okay, Jason Beats, 1408 Pershing. I see that at the end of the meeting, there's going to be an executive session to discuss the annexation of the land for the South Water Treatment Plant, which is planned to be built. I'm curious why that discussion can't happen in public. The city and the county just last month ended one lawsuit, and I'd hate to see us head toward another. And so what are we going to be discussing in private that we can't talk about in public?
So that I don't answer that question saying something that I shouldn't, I'm going to look to our legal counsel to give the answer to the question, if you don't mind. Thank you.
I'll try to give that a shot as well. By disclosing
what we would be discussing in executive session. We waive the privilege of executive session. I wouldn't say that this has to do with a lawsuit as much as just legal advice that we need to get in terms of responding to the county, and I don't expect any action today, but as the agenda indicates, it's the need for consultation with an attorney, for which the public body has a privilege to do that in attorney-client privilege conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments during public forum? Hearing none, we have no public hearings and items scheduled for a certain time, so we'll move to the consent agenda.
Mayor Davis, I'd like us to pull 6.3 for further discussion.
All righty. Well, no, I was just waiting for the clerk to
Oh,
read
okay.
them. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Item 6.1, approve the minutes of March 18, 2019. Item 6.2, award contract for the South 9th Street sidewalk repairs, project number 90008 to TNR Dirt Construction of Salina in the amount of $24,965.45 with a $2,034.55 construction contingency. Item 6.3, award contract for the 9th Street curb and gutter improvements, project number 90001 to Bryant and Bryant Construction Incorporated in the amount of $605,690.70 with a $29,309.30 construction contingency. Item 6.4, approve resolution number 19-7685, authorizing the mayor to execute a license agreement allowing continued use of a public right-of-way in an underground vault located at 134 South Santa Fe Avenue with Crest Building LLC, and approve resolution number 19-7686, authorizing the mayor to execute a vault closure agreement allowing for closure of an underground vault in the public right-of-way located at 128 South Santa Fe Avenue with Santa Fe Properties LLC and Mackenzie Welsh DBA Blush Boutique. Item 6.5, authorize the mayor to sign the Kansas Department of Transportation Form 1302, verifying that sufficient funds from the city of Salina are now or will be available and are hereby pledged to the Secretary of Transportation in the amount and at the time required for the supplementing of federal funds available for the completion of the Smoky Hill River Renewal Gateway Trail Shared Use Path. And item 6.6, approve amending the 2019 Building and Facilities Sub-CIP to reallocate the $20,000 currently identified for municipal court building automation system and accept the quote for the purchase and installation of carpet for the Salina Municipal Court with complete floor covering in the amount of $25,009.56.
Thank you. It's been requested item 6.3 be removed from the consent agenda. Are there any other requests?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the items not requested for removal on the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any additional comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And now item 6.3, and Mr. Stack. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Is there anything specific to go through, or somebody to go through the whole blue sheet?
Yeah, quick question, because it sounds like we're not going to maybe be able to get both the curb and gutter and the inlay done. At what point will we decide where we do move and do the Santa Fe from Crawford to Mulberry? I mean, is there a guideline, and how does the funding of that stack up versus the 9th Street milling that we were going to have done?
Oh, it's Brian Bryant is a contractor who did last year's project for us, and so it's nice that they are the winning bidder on this year's project. So they're pretty familiar with it, and it'll just depend on when they can start. So I guess we won't know that until later in the summer when they do give us a schedule. And then the last few years, APAC has worked into the almost early winter, after November even, we've paved into December. So it just depends on the weather. If Brian Bryant can get the project, the majority of the curb done, we can pave it this year, but it's just hard to say. And we felt like allowing them to have a little more time helped us with our bids, which we believe it actually did. So that we're pretty excited about getting Bryant Bryant again. They couldn't do it in the time frame we originally had. So we'll know, I would say, late summer. We can let you know. And as far as cost goes, they're similar cost.
And that'll give you plenty of time to get the bids out and everything to do one.
Yeah, right now, I mean, today we have the, mill and inlay. I think we've had mill and inlay already. And we've already advertised the mill and inlay project. We have a contractor on board. So right now, they're scheduled to do Ninth Street, but if we can't get them into Ninth, then we've had Santa Fe as an option. Again, you've talked about Santa Fe being a concern because it's downtown construction. So we also have to wait and see how that goes. Right now, they're getting to do some work. We're pretty excited about it downtown, but it was a slow winter. So we'll just have to see where that ends up this summer and fall as well. So it's lots of construction that's ready to go. We'll just have to see how it ends up. So we can definitely come back to you if there's any concerns on we can't get it done or we can get
So
it done. or
basically,
it's
one, no
conflicting.
matter which one will fall in the 19 budget and the other's going to fall into the 2020 budget,
Correct.
just depending on which
Yep,
one you're able to.
exactly. Mhm.
Correct
They
me
both
if-
need to be done.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but we've given the contractor some scheduling flexibility in hopes of getting more favorable bids for us. So what we're going to need to do is get a sense of the curb and gutter contractor's schedule, and then as well as the mill and inlay contractor's schedule. And if we see an opportunity to coordinate those schedules, then we might try to do that and have them work on 9th Street. But as those schedules come together, that's when we'll have to make the decision, Santa Fe or 9th Street.
I'm so glad you asked about that, Commissioner Hoppick, because, yeah, I really like the idea of getting Santa Fe done. You know, if we're not going to be able to get this completely done, I really like the idea of having, you know, Santa Fe wrapped up so that all the folks downtown can be done with that.
What kind of a timeline are we talking? I mean, once this is approved, I mean, is it,
This, for Ninth Street curb and gutter, that's about a 4 to 5 month project to get, that's about what it lasted last year. I would hope they'd be a little better at it this year, but it's about a similar, almost the same project as last year, similar number of inlets, driveways, curbing, side street tie-ins. The tree project will start pretty soon, so we're on track, but basically Brian has indicated they can't start till July. So if they start in July, then, you know, they're pushing it to get done by November. And then APAC, depending on weather, could mill and overlay it in November. It's not easy. It may get too cold, and the days get shorter, and they may be not able to work it in. So it's just a risk that we can definitely coordinate and talk through. Really, a mill and inlay project, though, even on Santa Fe, I mean, they could mill that in a week and pave it in a week. So it's really only about a 2-week project. That last year, I saw Crawford, we milled from Crawford, from Salina Central all the way out to Marymount Road and did it in a week. So it was, they can mill and inlay pretty fast with some good weather. So that is one that we're not as concerned with impacting downtown, but it's still a couple weeks of impact to downtown. So we may not want to do that. We're hoping Ninth Street's probably in worse shape, so we'd really like to get it done this year.
Well, and something I'd like to add, Dan, is that we did learn from 9th Street construction last year that because we were doing the curbs and immediately following up with the milling and overlay project, we were reluctant to patch the road and have 2 separate operations just because of the additional expense. Because we may or may not actually overlay the road, and what happened last year we consider unacceptable. Once the curb is placed, it will be patched with a hot mix material. So the roadway, temporary traffic through construction should be much better than last year. So, and like Dan said, once we do pull the trigger on whether we're going to mill and overlay 9th Street or Santa Fe, those are pretty quick operations so that we can get that done at the end of the year, and depending on the seasons, you know, if and when and how we get to it. But I wanted to assure people that as far as 9th Street construction, it should be in much better driving condition than it was last year.
Yeah, we've experimented with a patching material this year on Santa Fe with our contractor out there. It's kind of a cold patch, but it's also real sticky, and it just seems it's really staying in the patches really well where they're doing curb repair on the side streets. You'll see areas where we filled them in with asphalt, And that just allows our contractor not to have to rely on hot mix asphalt, which isn't, it's only really April, May-ish to around November is when the plant shuts down. So into the rest of the year, we've struggled to find a material that works. This material is working, and we're pretty excited about it. So we feel like this will be a big help for us on this project as well. They can put it in basically when you take the curb out, there's a gap there, and they fill the curb back in and then put in concrete as well. But then there's a gap, and last year that gap kind of just raveled off. It just got worse and worse over time, as you all remember. So this year we'll patch that and then hopefully keep that raveling from occurring. But if it does occur, we'll patch it again. So we should be able to make it traversable much better this year than last year. Thank you, Jim.
Okay. And and my concern for Santa Fe is that the block from the southern edge of the hospital building north to South Street, I guess is the first.
Mulberry.
Well,
going north.
the first immediate, that's South Street, isn't it?
South to Prescott. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that part right there. Mhm.
I sent some pictures of it to, I don't know if the city manager has, close before the meeting, so you probably haven't seen them yet. But there are some 5 and 6 inch deep.
Potholes.
These probably
Bigger than
transcend
potholes, huh?
potholes,
All
yeah.
Okay.
It's a
And
bucket hole.
it's right near the pedestrian crosswalk, so
Okay.
it's
Is it at South Street?
it's right where the bridge that connects
Okay.
the
Got it.
garage
The
with the hospital,
the
overhead.
overpass thing. Okay. All right.
And when it's raining, it's very deceptive because you don't
Mm-hmm.
realize how deep those holes are.
Okay.
So if that block can't be done, I'd like all of Santa Fe to get done because it'd be a shame to tear up the street right after the hotel opens. With the major thoroughfare going south. But parts of it are just for public safety, not so much the aesthetics. But that block in front of the hospital is on the west side of the streets in bad shape.
Okay.
Our maintenance guys were out in full force trying to get some potholes patched last week, but the sunshine's been out for like 3 days in a row now, so it is starting to dry up, and we are trying to get some other things done. But yeah, we've had a lot of potholes. It's been a bad winter as far as moisture and freezing and thawing, but we've got a lot of potholes to fill up, but we're working on them.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Stack. Any
Thank you.
public comments about this issue? Hearing none, bring it back to the commission.
Mayor Davis, I move we approve consent agenda item 6.3, awarding a contract for 9th Street curb and guttering improvements, project number 90001, to Bryant and Bryant Construction, Inc., in the amount of $605,690.70, with a $29,309.30 construction contingency.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve item 6.3. Any further comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And it's fun to spend this much money. See, the eyes getting wider when they hear these numbers. Yeah? Administration, 7.1.
Item 7.1, second reading ordinance number 19-10997, amending Chapter 5, Article 3, Sections 5-66, 5-67, 5-69, 5-70, 5-72, 5-80, 5-91, 5-94, 5-99, and 5-102 pertaining to the sale of beer not more than 6% alcohol by volume by cereal malt beverage retailers.
All right, we did pass this ordinance on first reading last Monday, and no comments have been received since then. Any update or any information from staff?
I don't believe we have anything to add, Mayor.
All right. Any discussion from commissioners? Any public comment? Okay, bring it back to the commission for
Mayor
action.
Davis, I move that we approve on second reading ordinance number 19-10997.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll have a roll call. This is second reading.
Commissioner Hay?
Aye.
Commissioner Hodges?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoppick?
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan?
Aye.
Mayor Davis?
Aye. This motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Development business, 8.1.
Item 8.1, application number Z19-2, requesting a change in zoning district classification from A1 agricultural to PC5 planned service commercial to allow installation of an electronic changeable copy advertising sign on land that is located on the west side of South 9th Street and is bordered by Riffle Addition Number 2 on the north and the Long MacArthur Addition on the south, and is addressed as 3400 block of South 9th Street. 8.1A, first reading, ordinance number 19-10998.
Mr. Andrew, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. As you may or may not recall, when we had discussions about electronic changeable copy advertising signs, representatives of Blue Beacon International came forward at a couple of the hearings and talked about their desire to be able to purchase and install an electronic changeable copy sign that they could put along I-135 that would advise visitors about events and activities in the downtown area. So there was a text amendment approved that allowed those types of signs if they were within 200 feet of an interstate highway. So they've been looking up and down the I-135 corridor and settled on a location which is sandwiched between the Long MacArthur Ford dealership and the Hilton Garden Inn Hotel. For those of you who have been in Salina for a long time, you may recall that Schilling Road didn't used to have an interchange. And so you got on the interstate from 9th Street directly via what we are referring to as the slip ramps. You would come down 9th and come onto the interstate. You would get off the interstate here to 9th Street. There was no direct connection to Schilling Road. When the Schilling Road interchange was built, that area was, the ramps were abandoned, and ultimately the property came into private ownership. The north part is owned by Mr. Norman Riffle, and the southern portion came under the ownership of MacArthur Enterprises. So they have, in their search, identified this parcel, which is north of Long MacArthur Ford, but it also happens to be the only parcel in this corridor that's not currently zoned commercial. So Gleason and Son Signs has submitted an application requesting approval of Plan C5 zoning for this site, and the plan is to erect an electronic changeable copy advertising sign along the east side of the interstate to promote events and activities taking place in the downtown area. The proposed sign would be 14 by 48. It would be set back 30 feet from the interstate right-of-way line, and it would be 30 feet in height. And this is also located in what we call the South 9th Street Corridor Overlay District, and all zoning applications in this overlay have to be done either as a planned development district or planned commercial district with a plan. And the plan in this case is only to erect a sign at this time. MacArthur Enterprises has no specific uses or development plans for the property. We have a provision in the zoning ordinance, section 42-8 requires that all property be platted before any zoning change takes effect. And Long MacArthur Ford doesn't really have any specific plans for the property at this time, but staff and the city attorney have matched notes, and we have determined that there's really no way to waive or defer platting at this time. So what will need to happen is if you take favorable action this evening, then they will need to prepare a plat of the property, and that will be submitted and approved before the zoning change becomes final. The South 9th Overlay District was adopted to try, at least partially, to keep big box retail from spreading any farther south than it had, just because the City Commission didn't want to be forced into making road improvements farther and farther south on South 9th Street. So the overlay district limits uses to uses that don't generate high volumes of traffic. And so the car dealerships fit within that category. The property, as you can see, is very odd shaped. There's 1,600 feet of frontage on the interstate, 245 feet of frontage on 9th. And this has, in the comprehensive plan, been identified for a long time as suitable for future commercial use. And if you look at the surrounding zoning up and down this side of 9th Street, it is all PC5, so this request would be consistent with that. And it would be the same as Long MacArthur and the Hilton Garden Inn on either side of the property. The future land use map shows this as commercial, and so rezoning to PC5 would be consistent with that. At this time, the only specific plan for the property is simply a 14 by 48 electronic changeable copy sign. The Planning Commission conducted a hearing on this request on March 5th. They unanimously recommended approval of the zoning change. They indicated they felt like a deferral of plating was justified in this case because Long MacArthur really wasn't trying to develop the property. But the fact is, a zoning change, for it to take effect, the property has to be platted. So there is no mechanism for granting that type of deferral. So this comes to you with a recommendation from the Planning Commission for approval. If you agree, the ordinance that you have before you should be approved on first reading, and then second reading would be deferred until there is a plat of the property. We would expect that the plat will simply be a boundary survey showing the boundaries and any existing easements. And long-term, if Long MacArthur wishes to develop this similar to the Riffle addition, there'll probably be a replat that will show streets and individual lots and things of that nature. But at this point, we'll pause for any questions that you might have about the proposal.
Oh, that's a clean presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any, excuse me, any comments from the public?
Norman Mantle, Salina. I don't think your setbacks are far enough. In the wind tower industry, we are starting to face at least a minimum of 500 feet setback from areas, whether it be residential or business. So you might be able to get in under the wire before legislation is passed to change this, because the wind tower industry is now starting to look at these setbacks further than 200 feet. Amendment of 500 feet from a residential house. So you're going to be facing problems if you stay under 500 feet. That's being discussed in other areas of the state.
All right. Thank you. And I think we discussed the setbacks when we were discussing our
Correct. We
other
discussed the
signs.
setbacks at length when we talked about
Yep.
the sign ordinance. I think there's a few things that are unique about wind towers compared, or windmills compared to signs. For one,
This-
their individual height and the fact that they're propelling and potentially flinging ice.
This
might
is only
factor
going to
in.
have a 30-foot height.
Right.
The other thing I would add, there's a dual review on signs like this. Both KDOT and the City of Salina are involved in that review. KDOT will not approve a sign unless it has a commercial zoning designation, so that's why we're doing this. And then the other thing is that KDOT will review the location in relation to the roadway, and it's our understanding from KDOT that they have approved this location, so we don't anticipate any difficulty in that regard.
All right. Thank you. Well, any action from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve on first reading ordinance number 19-10998.
Second?
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve application Z 19-2. Just first reading ordinance number 19-10998. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And any other business before our other business? Yes, sir.
Just one item. I wanted to kind of circle back around to something that I'd brought up last week. And first of all, I just wanted to thank City Manager Mike Scragg. Every week, he produces a city manager update, and it kind of helps keep us up to date on things that are ongoing, like concerns that citizens may have brought to us or questions that the commissioners have had. And I just wanted to thank you again for the depth and the breadth of your city manager's reports. Something that I wanted to go back to, last week we had received an email from Barb Young about Dry Creek channel debris. And it looks like that Mr. Scragg and Mr. Kowach have kind of come together, and I was hoping that maybe you could give us an update that we had received, but I think that the general public might be interested in knowing about the debris in Dry Creek.
If I may, I'd like to defer to Jim. He had that conversation more directly and is the one that kind of provided that update with respect to kind of scheduling the conversation you had with Ms. Young.
No, Barb and, which was involved with the old Foley property off Broadway, and then Reese Construction, which border both sides of Dry Creek on the west side of town, were concerned about the amount of debris, bottles and trees and stuff like that, that were accumulating just south of Grand. And that might plug the structure, they might be flooded in some way. And we went out, and myself and Jim Teutsch and Brent Buchwald, the head of our maintenance department, walked the whole thing. And although there was quite a bit of, obviously, debris, there wasn't enough that would cause us to be concerned of it causing a flood. Obviously not something we want to see. You know, we're cleaning up parts of the river, the new river channel on the east side of town around the park. We've cleaned out areas of Dry Creek, and then we're doing old landfill repairs on the north side of town. So we're familiar with this. And at that time, I told Barb we would try to clean that up or repair that or have some guys work on it this winter. And much like our discussion about sanitation earlier, our streets department is 6 people down, and we've had kind of the worst winter that we've had in the last several years. So our list of winter projects we didn't get to it this year, and we're expecting spring rains and the channel to be muddy again to where you can't really work on it. So it's one of those things that we intended to try to get to it this winter, and we were just unable to. And like Brent likes to say, we've added it to our list, and we'll get to it as soon as we can. But it's not anything that is an immediate threat to the area, and we're aware of it, and we'll do something with it as soon as we can.
Awesome. So we'd be looking at probably a next winter scenario.
Yes.
And I just have one further question. What's the source of the workers on the new downtown plaza? Are those streets, or where did those workers come from?
The 4 plazas that are part of the project.
No, the one that's just to the north of, at
What's
Astra.
referred to as 67401 Plaza?
Yes.
Yep, those are streets.
Okay. Because it was just something that I was looking that, we've had a full crew of like 5 or 6 guys working down there, and that's great, and it needs to be done, and I'm glad that we took the initiative on that little strip of ground. But it would also be my hope that at some point we could get to Dry Creek, and even if it's something where it's a couple of workers supervising volunteers, and I don't know the degree of the degree of the debris, but if it's something that could be handled like we do with spring spruce up and fall fix up, it's just something we might want to keep in mind for fall fix up if it's something that people can help. If like North Salina Community Development wanted to take the lead on that project or something like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, that would be great. As far as the problem with trying to do it in the spring is because of the moisture and the mud.
Is that going to take getting some equipment down there? Did I read?
Not generally this time of
necessarily.
year. That in the fall, or particularly late fall or winter, is when you try to get down in the channel with stuff. And we would need to get down there with a grapple and to remove some of the logs that are there. So
So you couldn't do it now anyway because of the,
Well, not very
Wetness,
easily,
yeah.
no. It's just because of the moisture in the bottom of the channel.
Thank you, and thanks for the update. Oh, no. I'm so glad that the kids left before I have to figure out analog clocks. How long
try-
do we need?
I
Oh, please
always-
make it for like something that ends
Something
me up
round.
at 5 o'clock.
I'd always try
22
to
minutes?
err on the short side so that we're not in there longer than we need to be. Let's try 30 minutes to start.
Okay, all right. I move the city commission recess into executive session for 30 minutes to discuss the subject of annexation of the South Water Treatment Plant site with legal counsel based upon the need for consultation with an attorney for the public body, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship pursuant to KSA 45-7319B2. The open meeting will resume in this room at 5:07 PM. Thank you.
Is there a second?
second.
All right. Moved and seconded to recess into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will resume at
Couldn't be at a worse
5:07.
spot for you.
And as I
I was
noted
like,
previously,
please,
we
if I
don't
talk
expect
slow
any
enough, I can
action.
get it to the 8.